Dear friends, welcome to this week's virtual Drasha. This week we have the incredible privilege to be Parsha Shoftim. And in this Parsha, Moshe Rabbeinu goes through really a voluminous amount of halacha in order to prepare Klal Yisrael for their ultimate entry into Eretz Yisrael, to become a people of destiny. But in order to seize your destiny, you have to have a life framework. You have to have a structure. And so many of the mitzvos that Moshe Rabbeinu gives over to Klal Yisrael in this week's Parsha are about creating a structure when we come and we actually transform from being a nomadic people roaming the desert for 40 years to Mirat Hashem, again, a people who inhabit a land, the people who take possession of a land, and the people who have a responsibility to build a just society. So Moshe Rabbeinu says as follows. This is in Perek Yud Zayin Pasuk Ches, chapter 17, verse 8. Ki pali mimcha davar la Mishpat. So literally translated, maybe sometimes you'll have ki, probably means you'll have a question. Pella literally means like a wonder. You'll be perplexed. Maybe you'll be perplexed when it comes to a matter of judgment. Bein dam ledam. You won't be sure how to distinguish between one type of blood and another type of blood. And Rashi HaKodesh says, Bein dam tamei ledam tar. Certain types of blood are ritually pure. Certain types of blood are ritually impure. So you're not exactly sure exactly which type of blood is pure, which type of blood is impure. Or bein din ledin. Or maybe you will be confounded, you'll be perplexed, you won't know how to adjudicate a particular case. Who's innocent versus who's guilty. Bein nega lenega, or between one type of affliction and another type of affliction. This is a reference to tsaras. We loosely translate tsaras as leprosy, but of course we know that leprosy is actually a physical disease, whereas tsaras is a spiritual malady with physical manifestations. So maybe somebody will present with a skin lesion, and you won't know, is it tsaras, is it not tsaras, you're not sure. So what's divrei rivos b'sha'arecha? Or in general, let's say there's a machlokes amongst the rabbanim or amongst the Torah scholars or the judges of your city, and they are unable to reach consensus about a particular halachic issue. So again, the Torah is describing over here, outlining over here a scenario where you've tried to utilize the court system in your locale. You've tried, but for whatever the reason, it hasn't really yielded the right results. So again, I've tried to adjudicate it locally, but the local judges, they're not sure. Is it ritually pure blood, impure blood? Again, is someone innocent? Is someone culpable or liable? Is this tsaras? Is it not tsaras? Or in general, there's just machlokes. And when I say machlokes, we don't even mean like interpersonal machlokes. There's just debate about how to adjudicate something, and we can't seem to reach resolution. What do you do in this type of scenario? V'kamta va'alisa ala makom asher yivchar Hashem elokecha bo. What should you do? You should go up to the Beis HaMikdash. Literally, again, v'kamta, you'll get up, you'll ascend to the place that Hashem has chosen. And then the Torah goes on to say, essentially, you'll go ahead and consult the Sanhedrin. You'll consult the high court, which resides in the Lishkas HaGozes, the chamber of hewn stone, which was a chamber in the Beis HaMikdash. Okay, incredible pasuk. When I looked at this pasuk in the early part of the week, and I guess, the beauty of the Torah is that you could read the same pasuk for years, for decades, for a lifetime, and yet, in every year, in every season of life, it means something a little bit different. And I saw this pasuk on Sunday when we were still reeling from the news about the recovery of 6 of our brothers and sisters, 6 precious hostages, who now it turns out were so brutally murdered just hours before our precious soldiers, hours before our Jewish army arrived at the scene. We're no stranger to death. Unfortunately, this past year has been filled with so much of it, and we're no stranger to loss. Even the notion of Jewish hostages, which would have been a term that would have been alien to us a year ago, is now part of our common everyday parlance. It's just the way we speak. It's just how we interact. But there's something overwhelming about this. Something overwhelming just about these precious neshamas who had somehow managed to survive through almost a year of captivity, and we're just a couple of hours away from freedom, and we're robbed of that, robbed of their lives. We're robbed of a future. For what? Just because of hatred, just because of animosity, just because of barbaric attitudes and indifference to the lives of our people. And I saw this pasuk on this Sunday, and for some reason I saw it in a different light than I ever saw it before. And perhaps Moshe Rabbeinu was conveying to us a different message, perhaps than just the stated message about how to deal with machlokes. How do you deal when you don't know how to adjudicate something locally? I think Moshe is also giving us something else. He was telling us as follows. Ki pale mimcha davar la mishpat. Sometimes you look around the world, and the truth is, I'm trying to figure out where's the mishpat. Where's the justice? Ribbon Shalom, where's the justice? Where's the mishpat? I'm having difficulty finding it. Ki pale mimcha davar la mishpat. Ribbon Shalom, I believe in you and I love you and I put my full trust and my full faith in you. But to be honest, sometimes I just wonder, like, where is the mishpat? Where is the judgment? Where is the justice? Why is it that the tzaddikim suffer? Why is it that Klal Yisrael suffers physically, suffers emotionally, suffers such ridiculous humiliation at the hands of the nations of the world? Why? And I wonder, where's the mishpat? Bein dam ledam. Why is it that sometimes it feels that Jewish blood is so cheap, and yet the blood of everyone else is so meaningful? Sometimes I can't see the mishpat bein dam ledam. I don't understand why our blood. The Gemara has an expression, "My chazas dedamach dedak sumak tfei," who says your blood is redder than anyone else's. Meaning, and the Gemara uses that to mean I can't save my life at the expense of someone else. But why is it that in the eyes of the world, our blood seems so cheap? Our blood seems so dispensable. And yet again, life is so important for everyone else, for any other situation, but yet our dam, Jewish blood, is treated so cheap. Bein din ledin. Why is it, Ribono Shel Olam, that sometimes it feels that we are the only ones getting judged? Whether it's in the court of human opinion, whether it's the court of human opinion, whether it's The Hague, whether it's the UN, why is it that there's two forms of judgment? There's judgment for the Jewish people, there's judgment for the state of Israel, and then there's another metric of judgment for the rest of the world, right? So when it comes to judgment of the Jewish people, you could throw around words like genocide, and you could level all kinds of accusations, even if they're unsubstantiated. But yet, by real criminals, by real Rishayim, they're not even mentioned. I don't understand. Bein din ledin. We're judged so strictly in the court of human opinion, and yet again, everyone else seems to get a pass, no matter how terrible their actions may be. Bein nega lenega. A nega literally means like an abrasion or an injury. Why is it that the nations of the world seem to travel through history unbruised, unmaimed, and unscathed, and yet we are so battered and bruised? Never mistake the fact, that we have this expression like Ga'ava Yehudit, is a Jewish pride. And yes, Klal Yisrael, we have a stiff upper lip. We're good. We're good. We don't need anyone's approbation. We don't need anyone's shkoyach. We've got this. We've been doing this for thousands of years. We know how to get back up. We know how to rebound stronger. We know how to have unbridled hope and optimism. We got that. But yet, beneath that exterior of Ga'ava Yehudit, beneath that exterior of Jewish pride and of Jewish optimism and hope, there's a heart that's broken in a million pieces. Not a day goes by that I don't find myself on the verge of tears for what has happened to my people, not the last thousands of years, the last year. Not a day goes by that if I think about my brothers and sisters in captivity, that I could be reduced literally again to a waterfall of tears. And yet everyone else seems fine. The nations of the world go through their lives and there's no nega, there's no bruises, there's nothing. And yet, Klal Yisrael, we're constantly bruised and constantly battered. Someone pointed out to me on Sunday morning, I was talking about, at Shira, Dafion was talking about the hostages, and someone said, by the way, there were 3 police officers who were killed. And I was like, you're right. And I realized that, what the nature of Klal Yisrael is? It's almost like you have to keep track of the tragedies. You have to keep track. You only mentioned this tragedy, you didn't mention that tragedy. And it's almost like, well, which tragedy requires the mention, and which... Why do we have these negaim? Why do we have these bruises? Why do we get battered? And yet, again, the rest of the world, the rest of the nations just go about their way. Divrei rivos b'sha'arecha. And to make things worse, to compound everything, why do we fight so much with each other? Dear friends, I have to tell you, and I don't mean this as a political statement, whether you like the prime minister, you don't like the prime minister, you like Netanyahu, you don't like Netanyahu, whatever. I mean, we're 6,000 miles away. I don't know how much of a say we should have in that anyway, or how much of an opinion we even have a right to espouse. But whatever your opinion is, what's fascinating to me is, and again, I don't claim to be the most informed person or the most politically savvy person, but it's important to understand that there's one reason that the hostages aren't home. And I don't think it's Benjamin Netanyahu. I think it's because we're dealing with a group of animalistic terrorists who don't value human life, who breached into peaceful communities. By the way, communities that ideologically believed in living side by side, that ideologically believed in the good of all humanity. And those cities were overrun violently. So you think you could enter into negotiations with terrorists? You think that you could go ahead and somehow sit down at a table between someone who believes that Jewish life, with someone who believes that Jewish life is worth nothing, as the prime minister called them, terrorists in a suit? You think that there's you think you could do that? And then when it doesn't happen, again, maybe the prime minister is at fault, maybe he's not at fault. But whatever amount of fault he does have or doesn't have, it's important to understand that the reason we're in this situation is because of Hamas. And the reason we're in this situation is because our neighbors in the most unfriendly neighborhood in the world do not value our lives. And many of them don't even believe in our right to exist. So ultimately, we have to sometimes stay away from blaming each other. And again, I don't mean this as a political statement in any way, but we have to remember that we're in this not because of an elected Jewish leader. We're in this because of terrorists. We're in this because of Rishaim. We're in this because of our enemies. But sometimes in Klal Yisrael, like, we never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. And why do we fight so much with each other? Why is there so much machlokas? Why is there so much negativity? Why so much infighting? Divrei rivos b'sharech. And it's incredible. After all this, even though again I see, I can't understand Mishpat. I don't understand why our blood is so cheap and their blood is so meaningful. I don't understand why we seem to be the victim of every judgment and they escape judgment. I don't understand why we're battered and bruised and everyone else sees fine. But yeah, with all of that, we still fight with each other. There's still machlokas. There's still sinas chinam. I don't understand it. Ki ipale davar ki ipale mimcha davar la mishpat. I don't understand divrei shiros sharecha. So what's the answer to all this? What's the answer? And the answer says Moshe Rabbeinu v'kamta va'alisa el hamakom. You know what the answer to all of this is? When you don't understand how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is running his world, and you don't understand the double standards that exist on every single level, and you don't understand why Klal Yisrael nation who only always wanted one thing, to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to live in our ancestral homeland, and to be left alone, or I shouldn't even say not even to be left alone, to have a positive impact on humanity. And with all of that, we are the lightning rod for the worst hatred mankind has ever seen. So what's the answer to that? What do I do with all of this? V'kamta va'alisa el hamakom. Makom doesn't just mean a geographic place, but makom is also a reference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like hamakom yinachem eschem. What do you do when you don't understand the Ribono Shel Olam or the way he runs his world? You run to him. And I know perhaps to the uninitiated, this sounds counterintuitive. But for us Jews, this makes the most sense in the world. Sometimes the more difficulty I'm having with understanding the Ribono Shel Olam highlights, the more I need to run into his loving embrace. Kadosh Baruch Hu, I don't understand you. And I don't understand how all of this has happened. I don't understand how all of this has unfolded and all of this has transpired. I don't understand it. But here's what I do know is that I need you. And I'm going to run to your arms. And I'm going to do whatever I can to become as close to you as possible. Because only in the closeness is there clarity. Only in the closeness is there clarity. Not that the closeness provides the answers, because the answers, those are for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the closeness provides me with some amplified level of clarity so I can continue to move forward in life. That I don't become paralyzed through the questions. and I don't become immobilized by the lack of answers. V'kamta va'alisa el hamakom. And dear Chaber, this is Chodesh Elul. Chodesh Elul, the month of Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. I am to my beloved is to me. The entire avoda of Elul is to run to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The entire avoda of Elul is V'kamta va'alisa el hamakom. Go to the Ribono Shel Olam. Run to him. Run to him. And when you run to him, what you will find is the faster you run, the more wider open the arms are. He's waiting for us. He's waiting for us. And it'd be wonderful to think that when we run into that embrace, he's going to whisper all of the answers into our ears. That's not going to happen. But the beautiful part is when I find myself locked in the embrace, that's all the answers I need. I don't need anything else. I'm good. I'm good because I'm with my Father. I'm good because I'm with the Ribono Shel Olam. I'm good because I'm close. There is clarity in the closeness. V'kamta va'alisa el hamakom. Moshe Rabbeinu encourages us to ask the questions. Moshe Rabbeinu himself even frames the questions. But Moshe Rabbeinu says, don't sit and wait for answers. V'kamta va'alisa el hamakom. What am I going to do to run to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And you could run to Hashem, davening and learning and chesed, however you're going to run, whatever you're going to do. But run to your Father. Run to Elul. Run to Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. Run, run, run. Run to the Ribono Shel Olam. Feel his embrace, v'kamta va'alisa el hamakom, and find that clarity that only closeness could provide us with. Wishing everyone a good Erev Shabbos and a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh.